intro. So here we go. All right. Welcome, everybody, to reallibertymedia.com, listening in on rlmradio.xyz, over at the internet or TuneIn, internet radio. So today, this is going to be my last broadcast again for a while. Today is War of the People, Blurred Lines. This is feedback episode 12, and it is noon central. So next week, I'm going to begin a 12-hour, it's going to be a 6-week presentation from Hal Anthony behind the woodshed on the Lieber Code in an examination of America under military occupation over the past 150 years. The first of this next year coming, I'll complete this series of feedback with episode 13, War is God. This is one I had been putting off for a while. It needs more work, and it's a look at the way of the world with man in a fallen nature, and how it has lent to all the societal ills that is exhibited in chaos, death, and destruction, and all that entails as well. So from Louis Armstrong, that wars, I mean, what a wonderful world this could be, and we're working on it. Now, my next series will be titled Rounding the Edge. It's going to be a 52-week series, and it's going to contain some of the most interesting and most important people and ideas that express best my long-running theme in what matters worldwide. Today, we're going to be focusing here a little bit on 9/11 facts and controversy. That leaves us in an even more uncertain future than at any other time in the history of man. Thanks, everybody, for joining in, sharing the post over there, Facebook. I closed out Freedom's Network, but don't forget our partner social media site, freedomsnetwork.com, and follow us over on Twitter. That is barman_RLM. And you can see what's going on over here in all the great work from Grimnir. Also, YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, if you're listening to this downstream, you'll be seeing this then in YouTube or SoundCloud or Speaker. But if you would help us out, we're about, we're less than 25, I think, to go to 100 for a custom RLM, URL, I'm sorry. Address over there. So Jose is with me, and we spoke this a little bit earlier, and I like the way that this was going. So white people have got to do better. What do you say, Jose?
That's what I say. And I know. I'm going to get a lot of flack from, guess what, white people. Right? But at the risk of being accused, and hold on. I want to say that I'm speaking generally. So please refrain from giving me the exception to the rule. Yeah, I know we have hippies that want to do the right thing, but they are the way minority, right? For the most part, white folks, since the beginning of history, are kind of responsible for all the crap that has happened, at least on this land that is now called the Americas, right? But if you care to dive into other parts of the world, everywhere the white European has gone, the white European has turned that area into crap. And yeah, I'm saying it. Yeah, if you do your history research now, do the research with the intention of finding something out, as opposed to doing the research with the intention of supporting your opinion, especially if you happen to be, by no fault of your own, white. Not your fault that you're white, right?
Chingao.
Anyway,
so now, arguably, we could we could confer with that. And we look back further in history, we see different empires. So I would like to have some contention with it being a white oppression. If you go back to slavery, when we were talking earlier, we talked about how whites were, the ones that brought about slavery. But black folks was in on that too. I mean, they sold other tribes.
Okay. Hold on. Am I losing you, or am I getting lost? Because you're glitching out.
I hope it's not my mic. Y'all tell me down in chat.
Okay, because the first argument that white folk come back with when I say white people are responsible for slavery, the first comeback is, oh no, Africans had slavery. Blacks in Africa had slaves. Yes, they did. And as a matter of fact, on this land we now called Americas, yes, there was slavery. It was a different kind of slavery, though. So maybe I should qualify that by saying whites are responsible for the commercialization of slavery, where they turned slavery into a profit business and actually went and took people from one land, enslaved them to sell them on another land for the sake of a profit. And of course, it was a very profitable business, right? But we're getting ahead because you were excited about that topic, probably because you had a white comeback for it. But I want to back up a little bit. When I say white people must do better, did you ever watch that movie A Day Without a Mexican?
No, I have not. But that's one I'll have to look up and watch.
It's kind of an occult type of movie. It's not a great movie, but watch the movie because it's got your typical, California people living their daily lives and without realizing exactly how much they depend on Mexicanos in their lives. And so one day, all of a sudden, all of Mexicanos disappear in this movie, and the people realize they can't exist without Mexicanos. And I'm not talking about just the gardener, which was kind of pointed out, or just the maid, which was pointed out, but the trucks stopped being driven. The market stopped being loaded. Anyway, my whole point is, because I'm sure somebody out there has watched the movie, let's make a movie about a day without white people.
I knew that was coming.
Right? And let's see what happens. Of course, it's kind of too late now in the year 2006. It's kind of late now because white people, and at the risk of me being blamed for blaming everything on white people have for the last at least 500 years contaminated the entire world with European whiteness, right? And anybody who knows me on Facebook, which is very few because I've deleted a lot of my friends, right? I'm down to like, I think 50 people now. But everybody who knows me knows that I generally describe white people as descendants of greedy, lying, stinking, cheating, murdering, raping, human trafficking, land stealing, disease-ridden, and a couple of other more adjectives. Right.
Okay, you're getting some comment here, and it's not indigenous of being white or European. We find examples of collusion. I mean, Indians had slaves. Let me back up here from Grimnir to pass this message on to you. Yeah, F that noise, Jose. The government's planned divide and conquer thinking and methodology. Quit letting them control your mind. And Hans Dredd is in here, and he feels that perhaps you're racist.
Okay, that's it. Okay, Grimnir. I'm saying white people need to do better. You're the one that's dividing. All you have to do is better, and then we will no longer be divided. Okay? Uh, Hans calling me racist. I'm not racist for pointing out what white people do. White people need to do better. Okay? Am I racist for pointing out the fact that white people used up all the resources in Europe? Okay, white people came to other lands, invaded, raped, murdered, and enslaved. White people ever, they believe.
Well, no, I've got to back you up there. You can go back to to the pharaohs. I mean, that black folks there, the North Africans. We've got every description of color, and I can't think that there would be any pure blood anywhere. The Mexicanos, they have European blood. The Mestizo, right? Is that the right word? No, that's not right. The
Mestizo.
Yes. There's very few. I mean, anybody that would be pure blood. You can look back at some of the sterilizations on Native Americans where they were even, targeting the purebloods there. There's a lot of atrocity, but it is this pattern in this series, this theme that a war. So right now we're not at we don't have peace and settlement, and we're expressing in our words right now this fact that there is this dis-ease. Thank you, Grams. So we in a sense are participating in the war. If we're not contributing positively, then we're a detriment. So and this is the point that the conversation you and I are having right now is so we can allow our views to be heard and seen, and allow other people to look at us objectively and measure what we have to say, and perhaps point out where we might take a more correct action, right?
Oh, that sounds so good, right? Always good on paper.
That was a little bit of me that's not fully white, maybe, perhaps.
And yes, recognizing our shortcomings is the first step towards correcting them. Now, if you recognize your own shortcomings, does that make you a racist? Right? Okay.
Yeah, we're all prejudiced, ain't we?
Yeah, but prejudice is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing per se, because you want, if you guys out there have kids, you want your grandkids to look like you. Yes, that's prejudice, but that's a kind of a natural way of doing things. So therefore, you might resist your daughter from marrying a black guy or marrying an Asian guy who's going to have distinguishable features that are distinguishably different from those of your own person, right? That's understandable. But where you become racist is where you disallow other races the right to happiness. Your daughter falls in love with a black guy, and you disapprove of it just because he's a black guy. Okay. Now it's understandable that you're prejudiced or that you want to discriminate, because you want your grandkids to all look alike. But why do you want your grandkids to all look alike? Could it be possibly because if you have a black grandkid, he's going to be subjected to racism, right? You don't want that. When in fact you must be the change that you want to see in the world. Now, let me go back to my list of white people things.
All right, let me pause you just for a moment. So here in about 4 minutes we'll be having a 420 report. Stick around, Hans. We're gonna shift gears here in a little bit. We're gonna move on and examine the idea of war between us and maybe some other paths. So let me hand you back the mic here, let's say for 3 minutes, and then I'll interrupt you again. Okay?
I think I can do it. Okay, I was saying white people are the most brainwashed people ever, and I want to emphasize ever. Okay, white people believe that the behavior that I listed before, the invading, the rape, the murder, and the enslavement of other cultures. They believe that that is done by all cultures, but there's no evidence of that. Okay, there's no evidence that other cultures did actually practice invasion of other lands, raping of people, or especially women, of course, murdering just for the fun of it, and enslavement for commercialization purposes. And of course, when you think about enslavement, it's usually all commercial because it's designed to make work easier on the people with money. We can examine that later on, but but I want to point out that we're having this conversation for the sake of unifying. Stop telling me that I'm dividing. If you disagree with me, you're the one that's dividing, okay? White people go to war without cause based on the word of their, quote, leaders, unquote. Most other cultures, prior to their exposure to white Europeans, didn't even have leaders, okay? They had representatives, and of course, histories have been completely annihilated or erased by the invading white cultures. White people believed slavery was okay. For whatever reason, white people believe that slavery was okay. White people are in complete denial of the cause and effects of the actions of their ancestors. White people today offer no apology. White people today take no responsibility. White people today refuse any reparations on other cultures which they have detrimentally affected. And then probably the worst of them all is white people have this tongue-in-cheek attitude when they discuss the issues that I mentioned above. Lyndon Johnson said, quote, "If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you," unquote. I use Lyndon Johnson specifically that quote because it is a commercial quote. It is about taking money, which is how the white elites or the so-called leaders brainwash the lower class white people into saying things like, "Jose, you're dividing us," when I'm just pointing out the fact that as long as you keep thinking like this, you are the one being divisive.
Let me pause you. We'll come back to this. It's 420 somewhere, so we're going to talk about some CBD oils. But right now, a salute from the Buzz Beaver. This is the 420 report. Smoke them if you got them. This is 5 must-know facts about cannabidiol CBDs. And exhale. Okay, so give me just a second. I'll catch up here. CBD has quickly changed the debate surrounding the use of marijuana as medicine. I kept contention with the use of the word marijuana. But CBD is a key ingredient in cannabis. Whoops, that about got right my way. CBD is one of over 60 compounds found. I'll come back to you in chat just a minute. CBD is one of over 60 compounds found in cannabis that belongs to a class of molecules called cannabinoids. Of these compounds, CBD and THC are present in the highest concentration and therefore the most recognized and studied. CBD and THC levels tend to vary among different plants. Marijuana grown for recreational purposes often contain more THC than CBD. However, by using selective breeding techniques, cannabis breeders have managed to create varieties with high levels of CBD and next to zero levels of THC. These strains are rare, but have become more popular in recent years. So the CBDs are more of the physical treatment of ailment. THC, of course, ain't bad neither, right? Okay, I'm going to come back over. We're going to see what's being pinged over here. Okay, Grounds, and Beth, and from me. My guests are driving someone to drugs. Don't be a drag, man. Okay, so let me come back over here. So CBD has a wide range of medical benefits. Although CBD and THC act on different pathways of the body, they seem to have many of the same medical benefits, according to a 2013 review published in the British Journal of Clinical Pharmacology. Studies have found CBD possess the following medical properties. There's a list of them. I'm going to grab this link, and I'll drop it to y'all in chat and include it in the description link for those listening downstream. I'll drop that off. So let's roll back in. So Jose, this is a pretty controversial. A lot of people don't like to hear somebody that ain't white saying white ain't right. There's an old poem. I think it goes something like that. Black is beautiful and tan is grand, but white's the color of the big boss man.
Ouch.
Ouch.
I wonder who came up with that.
I don't know. I bet it wasn't a white guy, was it, do you think?
Who knows? But I'm sure it was inspired by a white guy, right? Or the actions of a white guy. And Malcolm X said it, very well when he said, he said he was in I forget where he had gone, some Muslim area to get back to his Muslim roots, and he said, over there we have white people. He said, when people in this country call themselves white, they're describing the color of their skin. In America, when you say you're white, you mean you're the boss. You're saying you're in charge. This is Malcolm X speaking. Now, the fact that I am Mexicano and I'm expressing my opinion and I'm getting the disgust of all the white people in the chat room kind of supports Malcolm X's words, right? I mean, they're not saying, wow, Jose, that's interesting. How did you figure this out? Or how do you come to this conclusion? They're saying, fuck you, Jose. You're wrong. You're prejudiced. You're racist, right? Because they cannot be told by a Mexicano that what they have come to believe in has been wrong. Can be, or worse yet, can be improved upon. That's all I'm saying. What am I saying? What is the title of my talk? White people have got to do better. Okay? Counties within the United States of America with the highest rates of poverty are correlated with the highest rates of racism. Now, given that Lyndon Johnson said, if you can convince the lowest white man that he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice that you're picking his pocket.
Okay. Well, let's move forward. How do we come together? I mean, it don't mean that we've got to. I don't know. What does it mean? How do we change this? Whose fault is it? It's not. I mean, it's not my fault. It's not your fault. I mean, this is just a part of history. So we have to look to move forward, right? This is the whole idea of this divide and conquer, and we see it in every aspect. This is just war of the people. I mean, there's a lot of different fronts out here, and somebody takes this one over here, and somebody from the left and somebody on the right. I'm looking at Facebook. More of the liberals are just completely outraged about Trump. I mean, it's just the same old game. Government, first of all, is the biggest mafia there is. It's worldwide now. It has world dominion, this empire. And you think America's great? It's going to be great again? I can hardly think that you're seeing the whole picture. Trump is appointing the same old insiders, just like Jimmy Carter said back in 75, I believe it was, when he wrote his autobiography. He said he wasn't going to put these same old folks in, and who did he put? Same old folks. So there is no hope in Obama and Hillary or in Trump or Bush. They're all part of the same criminal cartel, and it has no color. There's not a color to it. It has been dominated by Europeans for several centuries now, but we go back beyond that to Egypt, Babylon. I mean, we can see Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan, his grandson, as almost world domination. But today, the fact is that there is the power to completely control the entire world. They're doing it through manipulation, through media, through these people that are coming in and into these movements and moving it for their own benefit or for the benefits of others. The stalking horse, hiding behind that silhouette, ready to shoot you down. So we have to look more, even though we're examining the cause and effect, we can have no effect. Our cause can have effect on the past, merely where we move forward. So let me hand you back to Mike here, and let me catch up here in the chat.
Okay, yeah, I do actually have proposed solutions that I was intending to introduce towards the end of the program, right? But I'm not done. I'm not done bitching about white people, so I'm going to keep on bitching about white people right here, okay? Okay.
Well, let's hear.
One of the biggest topics, especially since you brought up Donald Trump, and by the way, since Donald Trump threw his hat in the ring, I chose to ignore him. If you look at his Facebook, I refused to comment on anything that was posted about Donald Trump. I didn't take him seriously. Perhaps that was my mistake, right?
I don't think he took himself seriously to begin with, neither.
Yeah, I agree. I think on election night, I think his words were, "Holy shit, I won." Right? I don't think he expected to win. But anyway, Donald Trump proposing to build a wall between Mexico and the United States. Not a wall between Canada and the United States, right? Just a wall between Mexico and the United States.
We don't need one there. The Canadians keep us out. They're pretty controlled about what Americans they live in or out. Now, the wall down there in Mexico, what's that going to do? Is it going to keep anybody out? I doubt it. Is it going to do more to keep people in? I would say, yeah, most probably.
Remember, when any wall that you build to keep somebody out also walls you in. But that's neither here nor there. We want to speak philosophically because this is reality. And the point is, back to the denial of white people. I actually did a paper on the Border Patrol. That's how old my paper was. It was still called the Border Patrol back then. Now it's called Customs or whatever. And I found out through documents that I was allowed to inspect online at the Border Patrol website. The Border Patrol admitted that a terrorist attack is more likely to come through the Canadian border because they're not going to send, I'll put it direct. I'll put it in the words that the Border Patrol put it. They're going to send white people in with bombs and stuff because everybody else is getting stopped, right? And they said, yes, we admit that a terrorist attack is more likely to come from the Canadian border rather than the Mexicano border. And they said, yes, we have 10 times, we capture 10 times less people crossing illegally in the Canadian border, but that's because we have 10 times less agents patrolling the Canadian border. And it stands to reason. If you put 10 times more agents in
hold on a minute. Hold on. We've lost connection.
I lost connection when I'm on a roll here.
No. All right. Hold on a minute. I'm going to have to stop it. Let me stop the recording first of all. Yeah. Okay. I'll say let's take a few minutes and bring this together. Let's bring this and take a look at where we're actually in it together, and how we can maybe see some of the ways that the techniques of war are used against us as a people.
The irony of your suggestion, Vincent, is that this whole topic is a suggestion on how we can come together. The bottom line is white people have got to do better. It is not contingent on people of color to do better in order for us to be unified or equal. We are the ones that have been clamoring for unity and equality. This is why I have deduced that it's white people that have got to do better. Like I was mentioning earlier, there's this old Scruffy Mexicano in South Texas is going on the air saying that white people must do better. And has anyone in the chat room agreed with me at all? Anybody?
No.
Anybody?
No. Let me ask you, and I'll go back to Facebook here and see what's any comments there. Well, let me ask you, what can I do to make it better? Specifically. Let's bring this in instead of being broad-based. What can I do?
And yes, it has to be on an individual basis, which is commonly done. Okay? I have 5 or 6 things here that I've listed. Remember, we put this all together because I called you and I said, hey, I had a dream, and my dream was this, and you're like, hey, let's do a topic on that. And I'm like, okay, but I have to make some notes. So everything that I'm saying right now, I compiled in like the last hour. Okay, first of all, I said, my first suggestion is stop, listen to these words, stop dismissing the verbalized views of people of color when we do dare to speak on this topic. That is what's happening in the chat room right now. I'm saying this is the problem. White people in the chat room are saying, bullshit, right? You're racist, okay? Second, shame those that speak and act in support of white supremacy and white privilege. Do not shame the people that are trying to unify, get us unified. People of color are not trying to divide.
You're breaking up a little bit here. Let me say this, Mary. Thank you. When you're pointing fingers, when you're pointing your finger, you got 3 pointing back at you. So I think the resentment comes in that you're making an accusation against each of us as an individual, and that is perception, whether it be true or not. So by making a big old lump, isn't that a division in itself?
I reject that argument because I stated that I was going to be speaking in general terms. So do not give me the bullshit about there are some of us that blah, blah, blah. Okay? Got it?
Okay.
Number 3, stop.
Mia.
Okay.
Go ahead. I have we got this some comment. I'll add this to the mix.
Okay. But no, go ahead and add it. I got my stuff written down.
Okay. Oh, she's dropped me some video in here. She's got some. Let's see. Mandalo a 20 personas si soy importante para ti. Espero el mío TKM. So, that was a nice abrazos in the video. I don't know. Let's see. So, and then she's typing now too. Let's see. U.S. Mexicanos are a mixed breed of people. So, yeah, if you use the word breed for like a dog is a dog, and you got different breeds. Isolation of people coming over generations and generations of time. So you have certain characteristics that are predominant. There's no such thing as race. This great race debate is flat on its face, and I don't think we should be calling anyone black or white. We are all shades of sienna, and we have that says if white people care about anyone else, they should listen to become our white allies. So, for me, I think that's negated by my previous statement.
Yeah, but I'm going to reject your previous statement. I love you, Vincent. But it's easy for white people to say that we're all one people.
Hey, Maddie.
Right? When it is the white people that are not treating us all as one race. That's why we're having this discussion, because white people have got to do better.
That's, white people are probably doing better as far as how you would say it right now than any point in history. Look at the persuasive attitude among white people. There is, and we'll boil it down to the millennials. There is less prejudice in this world today than at any other point in history. There's more cohesion without regard to skin color than at any point that so far that we've ever been able to see. We have to keep going forward and tip the scale, because if not, you know what? We're real close to being done at whatever color you are. We're about done as a people. It is beyond just the mere war and the Federal Reserve and all this governmental control where they are the master as opposed to being the servant for people. It's lost there. Just beyond that, it is so diabolical. The future is filled with dystopia, fear, and dread, and that is used in a motivating force factor to continue to control. And we have to change that. And beyond that, the sci-fi, oh my word! Listen to Jules before the first cup on UCWire.tv every morning, weekdays at 9 Central. She lays out this between medical, all the biological engineering going on. We're probably looking at the last few generations of human 1.0, because there's a scary future, and it's not going to matter one iota what color we are, because like George says, it's a big club and we ain't in it.
And that's the perfect segue for my number 3.
Good.
With all due respect to you, my beloved Vincent,
Mm-hmm.
Please stop white-splaining to people of color what we should be feeling and doing to remedy our issues. Okay? You had a wonderful soliloquy there, which is true of the human race, but do not tell me that I need to stop worrying about trying to be equal when blah, blah, blah. Okay? Number 4, accept that your European ancestors acted unconscionably. Yes, it's not your fault, but God damn it, accept the fact that your ancestors are the ones that did this to the people of color in this country and in this world. I'm not telling you to feel guilty, but accept it. Stop denying it. Stop saying that other cultures had slavery, so it's okay for us to have done to black people and Mexicanos and the indigenous people of this world, of this land and other lands in this world. Stop it. Just accept the fact that what your ancestors did was bullshit and should not be supported by any argument whatsoever. Number 5, recognize that you do benefit from the privilege established by 500 years of atrocities. Recognize it. Recognize the fact that you have privilege and power because of the misdeeds of your European ancestors. Lastly that I came up with in the last hour or so, use your goddamn white privilege to help others as opposed to perpetuating your privilege. Okay?
Well, I've got to say that we as a whole are doing that. And I can cite example for myself. Somebody that became as family to me, a Mexicano, back in the 90s. I brought him to my house. He lived with me. We worked on my land that I bought together. I hooked him up with some other folks, and he got a job for making almost twice as much as I was making. Man, you know, we all got it to do, and that's one-on-one, face-to-face. White splaining, says Grimnir. That's the most racist term in the world. You got some splaining to do.
Okay. That goes back to...
I'm sorry, let me interrupt again. And Maddie says you're doing that to white people through speaking to Jose number 3.
You lost me, or she lost me. Okay.
What your point on number 3? And I think that might be to do with the white explaining some too.
Yeah, stop white explaining to people of color what we should be feeling or doing to remedy our issues. Okay, stop it.
Well, so wait a minute. Okay, here's the point. What about your European ancestors? Where does at what point does lineage negate past actions of ancestral?
So are we going back to number 1? Stop dismissing the verbalized views of people of color when they do dare to speak. So what? Everything else I said doesn't matter because my ancestors were raped by my other ancestors. Am I supposed to identify with the rapist that came over here and raped my indigenous ancestors and left her for dead, but she happened to live? So I need to just ignore that and identify with the Españoles. And by the way, Españoles are the N words of Europe anyway. Most white Europeans don't even consider the people from Spain as European. So don't give me that crap. Stop explaining, okay?
Well, there's truth to that because the Espanol was predominantly like Sicily and southern Italy interraced with the Moors. So again, we're all shades of sienna. Isn't that the right color?
Yeah, I agree. But listen to this. Okay, here I am telling you what we need to do to stop the division. In my opinion, what needs to be done is what people must do better to stop the division. What am I getting from the chat room? More goddamn division.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, let me bring in Julieta again. And this is a very valid point. All laws made since the beginning of our nation were signed and enacted to make people of color and undesirable people in our land. The United States Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and that's true. I can't recall the exactness of it, but it did give a distinction for the indigenous people as less than human in a sense. So, I'm certainly not debating this atrocities that have happened. I mean, look at the use of the soldiers in war to go in and exterminate people in an area that they want to rape the land. They rape the people while they're raping the land. This is not debatable. It's happened. But again, Bernard, we have to find a point where we can put that behind us and move forward. And how do we do that? I mean, I'm not explaining. White splaining.
How do we do that indeed? Well, I'll tell you what. I've listed the 6 items that I came up with, and by all means, it is certainly not all inclusive. I'm one Mexicano down here that had a dream this morning, and mentioned it to you, and you said, "Hey, well, let's discuss that." And I'm like, "Okay, good, let's do it." As a matter of fact, I didn't even put together 2 hours of material. I figured we'd discuss this in 30 minutes, and then you cut me off like you usually do, right? But
Cállate, way.
Anyway, I'm trying to unify us. Believe it or not, I'm trying to unify us. How can I unify us unless I tell you, point out to you your actions, generally speaking, Vincent, don't take it personally, your actions that are dividing us. Stop telling me that I'm the one doing the dividing when I'm telling you this is what needs to happen for us.
Did I?
Yeah. Didn't I say don't take it personally?
So,
Am I gonna have to reach through the airwaves and slap you? I'm not a violent person. Okay.
we are all slaves, though. 10-4 on that there, Grim.
Yes, we are all slaves, and we must unify. And that means you got to listen. You got to listen. Okay, Grim. And remember, okay.
Here's a good racist one for you. You know why Indians women have that little red dot on their forehead? Sir, their husband saying, "You just don't listen." How's that for being racist? Is that racist or prejudiced or ignorant?
I don't know, but it was a bad joke anyway. Either way.
Yeah. It was on purpose too.
That's,
It is a bad joke. The whole thing's a bad joke, and we're the butt of it.
Yeah, but
you know where ham comes from?
Tell me.
From the butt of a pig. We're all farm animals. Cattle, chattel, pigs.
But to say that we're farm animals, I think is an insult to real farm animals everywhere. I want to go back to where I was before you made me come up with the solutions, which I had intended to be the end, which I had intended to discuss about right now. Right? Because I had wanted to discuss Exodus, not the Bible book, but the Exodus, because white people accept that, quote, good people, unquote, left Nazi Germany. Those of us who remember Nazi Germany.
Oh, yeah. That was a good topic that we was talking about. I'm glad you brought that back.
Yeah. Okay. So white people in the United States, and generally speaking, I'm going to say around the world, because I think the United States is kind of a good example of how white people think all around, globally. White people accept that good people left Nazi Germany during the rise of Adolf Hitler back in 1930s Germany, right?
I disagree with that premise.
Tell me why.
Most people, like right here in America, have been acclimated. It's a slow dose, Maybe, excuse me, we're looking at generations of conditioning. But no matter how fast you turn the heat up, as long as you start out cold and bring it to a boil, you're not going to jump out of the pot. Not all at once, anyways. So some people are trying to climb out now. It's been a slow boil. And what people did leave Nazi Germany, did they see the totalitarianism coming on them? Some people got away. Most people, I'm going to say, did not. And they were right in there, and either out of fear or ignorance, they did not respond, at least correctly in many instances.
Did some good people leave Germany, Nazi Germany, during the rise of Adolf Hitler?
I would have to say some people did, certainly.
Okay, well, thank you for proving my point. And as a matter of fact, you proved my second point, which I haven't even made yet. Okay. My third point. My second point is white people think everyone wants to come to the United States. Right?
Oh, my goodness. I forgot to hit show now. All right. Well, I'm going to do that now. So there is notification. I forgot to do something, but people are listening anyways. Yeah, we're listening anyways. But there's notification to the network.
You produce other people's shows much better than you produce your own.
I know. I call in and I talk to Grim and on occasion, and I find that I might say things just a little bit better. But I've got about I don't know how many irons in the fire over here doing all this, and 2 computers and all kinds of buttons to push. So, yeah, it does. I'm easily confused.
Yeah.
And wait a minute. I said easily.
You think?
And there's a penny in the bucket.
You think you're invincible?
Ha.
Hey, okay, back. White people ignore the mass exodus from the United States of America. As a matter of fact, white people focused entirely on immigrants.
Wait a minute. What's happening? Stop just a minute. I'm sorry. Why are you hearing? Grams is not here. We're still streaming. Okay. Well, I'm going to assume that we're still good. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll watch the stream.
white people focus completely on the immigration or people coming to the United States, but they completely ignore emigration with the letter E, emigration, which is people leaving the United States. Okay? Even the U.S. government bureaus have trouble figuring how many so-called Americans are expatriating. Just as those
there are. Yes, that is it. That is a good point. There are many people leaving, aren't there?
And this is long before Trump, right? Long before Obama, right? Remember when Obama was elected, all these white people were like, oh my God, this country's going to go to shit. We all got to leave right now. And some people actually left, but it was happening long before. When I was in college in like 2003, 2004, I actually met a guy in college, a white guy, who was studying, what was he studying?
Studying how to study.
He was studying foreign language because he wanted to move to España. I know you can call it Spain, but it's part of your disrespect and your lack of honoring other people's cultures. But he wanted to move to España because when he was stationed there during the Navy, he realized what a load of crap the United States was. And he pointed out to me that people in España would tell him, why do you Americans call themselves a free country when you guys have more laws than most other countries put together? And he's like, what are you talking about? And the man he was arguing with said, you have more gun laws in the United States than all the countries of Europe have put together. And we don't have the gun problem that you have. Right, the gun violence problem. And so anyway, so he was wanting to move to Spain. He wanted to expatriate and move to Spain, and I think he did. Okay, just as those running away from the 1930s Nazi Germany, just as those hoped to leave discreetly to avoid being captured or to prevent or have their escape prevented, so too do those leaving the United States fear government repercussions. Now, you can go on to the Census Bureau website. I've got a link that I can share with you if you care to. But the numbers are low. But you'll be surprised how many people how many so-called Americans that you have on your Facebook list of friends that aren't even living in the United States anymore.
Sure.
And yeah, some of them went to Canada. Canada is just kind of the little sister of the United States. But most of them have moved to Mexico. Well, let me
Central America. I know people all throughout the North and South Hemisphere.
Right. Well, let me rephrase that because I said most. I will say the biggest number of expatriates are moving to Mexico because that's the closest land to move to. But the majority of people are moving other than Mexico, and there are South American countries, but people are moving back to England of all places, right? Australia. Very few expatriates, very few so-called Americans, very few white people are moving to Europe, other than England, if you consider England Europe. Very few white people moving to Europe. And why do you suppose that is?
Because I'll tell you a generic answer. There's a lot of people from other parts of the world that are part of this fear-mongering. People that are fleeing their home because the war machine is killing them, destroying everything, the infrastructure. And so then you generate more fear porn. And white Europeans are scared. They're very scared. And the same thing here in America. So it continues towards the vision. Let me give you a minute or so here, wrap up. Jose and Grimnir's going to come in, and we're going to talk about 9/11 facts and suppositions and idiots in general. Okay.
Are y'all still discussing 9/11? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I can wrap it up because, as a matter of fact, I'm kind of out of material anyway. So I do want to point out um, that your statement saying that today, basically what you said was today is better for people of color than any time in history. I will begrudgingly agree with you. Okay, but the only reason it is better than any time in history is because white people are finally starting to realize what has been said in the group all along. The fact that yes, the government has us all corralled up, and yes, we are all the same. It's funny how you guys are saying this, right? And you agree with it, unless a person of color comes and says the same thing, then you disagree with
Well, I
us.
think the disagreement becomes prejudiced when a person feels like they're being accused directly, and
I am.
there is the confusion because it is not me and it is not any one individual. It is each of us and as an individual. So that's where our accountability
Yeah,
comes in. Yeah.
it's good. It's good that you're feeling this, because yes, I have to attack you generally for you to take it personally. And I keep telling you, don't take it personally. I'm speaking generally. It's
Yeah.
just like if I'm meeting with you for dinner, and I'm speaking not you personally, Vince, right?
Oh. So listen, to be fair, I know Grimnir is going to have something to say here. Thank you for coming in, Grimnir. Let's get into our topic here in a minute. Let me give you a chance to respond to Jose, and then of course we'll have to let you respond in kind. And I'm going to mute up. I'll be right back. I'm going to kick this dog out here, and so let me hand it to you.
Okay. Hi. How you doing, Jose?
Hey, Grim, I'm going to mute my mic and turn on my air conditioner so you have at it, okay?
All right. Well, I wasn't really prepared to be brought in on this topic. However, it's horseshit. It's nonsense. How white people, you're pointing out white people to begin with, and I know you talked all about it. Oh, it's only because you're saying that it's this. People look at me, they think I'm white, a white person, when actually I'm not necessarily a white person, being as my father was full-blooded Seminole. But people still look at me and think that I'm white. So I guess in that sense, I would have to be identified by the rest of the folk out there as white. I don't give a fuck what people see me as or think of me as. I'm a person. Just as you are, or Eddie is, or anybody else is. And if you want to allow people to control your life through that view, through that lens, that's on you. That's not on society. That's not on this group or that group. That's on you. There's a lot of people out there, with regardless of what skin tone they may have, that go on and do the wonderful things and horrible things. So if you want to look at things as these people have to do better because they don't like this, that, or the other thing about me, and it's only bad when we're pointing out something about them, that's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. So I don't know what to say really more about that, Jose, other than the fact that if you're buying into what the government wants, and I say the government using it as an overall control mechanism, it might not be a government, but it could be a church, it could be whoever. That's a fail. That's a massive fail. They want to divide you so that they can grab a certain group here or a certain group there because they want to group you. Don't be part of a group. Just be part of the planet. Just be a human, if that's your desire. Maybe you don't want to be human. I don't know. That's really up to you. So I don't know what else to say about that. I was brought on here and left alone. So.
Well, you're not alone, and remember, Groupthink is like being groped. That is your mind being groped.
And you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I like being groped. Yeah, I go to the airport and I don't even have a ticket. Yeah. So, Jose, do we still have you?
Barely.
Ouch. Okay, so
Grim,
go ahead and respond.
Okay, Grim, I respect your opinion, and I will tell you a quick story. I joined the Army, and we got our uniforms, we got our haircuts, we got everything done. My little platoon, we had Mexicanos, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, we had Koreans, we have black folks from all different kinds of states in the United States, which makes for lots of different cultures. And then we even had some white folks, right? We had some white folks who were from the south side of Chicago, and they thought they were black. As a matter of fact, this white guy thought he was so black, we had to have an entire day of cultural training because he kept saying the N-word because he was comfortable with it. Okay, now, one incident was our drill sergeant ordered us all into the bus. And before we got on the bus,
Hello?
Said, yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, just drop for a second.
Okay. This big black drill sergeant says, I want you all to recognize that in the Army, we are all green. There is no black, there is no white, there is no yellow or brown in the Army. Everyone is green. I want you all to file into the bus, and the dark green will sit in the back of the bus, please.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, my uncle retired from the Air Force, senior master sergeant, and when I was a teenager, if the N-word would have come out of my mouth, it'd have been slapped right back in. Now, you can't say that about the military. There, of course, there was the segregation, but that's all changed, even into gender identity now, I guess. Which really, I've often wondered why did the government pay for Manning to supposedly have a sex change? I would say they might have done that to him to punish him. I even question that, really. I mean, and it's all just narrative again. So, anyways, go ahead.
Wait, before you get on with that, so Jose, you're the point of that story is to show that there is in the military racism, right?
Aye, Grim. You need a bigger hat so stuff will stop going over your head.
No, you're
telling me, oh, we're all just one race. Stop being divided. But you're wrong. The fact that I'm complaining and you're dismissing my complaint points out my point.
How is that? How is you pointing out that this group needs to do something different in order to improve our lot in life? How is that? How is
you know what?
How is that not divisive?
All I can suggest to you after this whole hour is that you need to get you a sombrero, a big hat. Things are going over your head, and I can't poke a hole in your head and make things go in there. Because you're not thinking unity, you're thinking division. You're accusing me of dividing when I'm I'm the one fighting for equality. I'm the one trying to get you guys on the same sheet of music, but you keep saying that I'm being divisive. It's impossible for me to get you on the same sheet of music if you're insisting on playing solo, because probably, and you claim that you're 50% indigenous. I do have something that I used to say. All my people want to be part Indian now that they've killed them all, right? But
we're really going way over. Look, I've got Jimmy in the background from last week too. I'm gonna give y'all a minute or so here. We're gonna wrap this and move on. Let me finish. Julieta says the reality is that the white elite we have today are still attacking people of color. Yeah, that you look at crack cocaine in the ghetto, and look at what's happening at Standing Rock as well. She says. So let's wrap this up for this week. Go ahead, Grimnir. Take a minute.
Take a minute. Just give me, let me tell you, Jose. I grew up in San Diego. I lived in San Diego 40 plus years of my life, and I had Mexican neighbors, Mexican schoolmates, Mexican coworkers, Mexican friends. I went to barbecues and dinners at their houses. They came to mine. They didn't act like anything different than any other person. They were just people. It was no, you're bad because you're this color. You've got to say different things about me because you eat different food or you have a little different accent to your voice or anything like that. There's no reason to be doing that, to be pointing out that this group or that group, that is government brainwashing. And you've got to get over that. That's my
Thank you, Grim, for your typical some of my best friends are blank argument. That's all I have to say.
It's not some of my best friends. It was just people I grew up with and lived around and lived with and did work with. They're just people. I'm not saying they're some of my best friends or anything.
Yeah, there were just people as long as they didn't have the guts to speak up. Right?
Speak up about what? They were just.
Thank you, Grim. Now on to the next topic. Did you even hear the 6 suggestions that I came up with to utilize? Grim.
I did, but it's just nonsense. There's no reason.
When you hear yourself talking, do you say, "Oh shit, I'm falling right into step with what he said I shouldn't be doing"?
No, because your suggestions.
Well, please do, because I want you on my side. I don't want to beat you. I want you to be on my side. I don't want
have sides. Quit having sides.
Hold on.
This is okay. I'm going to stop the whole thing right there. We're going to end. We went well past. We can kick this dog all around the house, all around the yard, and it's still a bunch of crap. It's going to be crap under your. It ain't going to matter if it's in the grass or on the carpet. You got shit under your shoes. Don't smell. Don't blame the smell on nobody. And Graham's thinking, and Hal, if you're pointing one finger, you got 3 pointing back at you. We're going to have to move past this.
Give me Graham's post office box so I can sell him a sombrero.
I want one too. Palm straw.
I have a nice umbrella. I got down in El Bufadora area down there.
Well, where is it?
It's hanging on my doorknob over here.
Yeah, it lasts a lot longer when you leave it there. Put it on your head, Grim. Things are going over your head. Now, I want you to catch it because I want you to say, "Holy crap! It was me dividing us. It was not Jose." Demanding equality is not divisive. Thank you very much. Let's go on to the next topic.
Okay. Hey, thanks for the conversation. And obviously we need to have more conversation. Each of us individually. There is prejudice. There is racism. That's a part of this world. History has happened. That's a fact, and that can't be changed. We can change the future, and it starts with, so cliche. It starts with me and you, or you not. It didn't start with you and I. See, that's my pet peeve right there. Besides the word pet peeve, is you and I used incorrectly. So you and me will continue at another date. So I'm wrapping up here for the next 6 weeks. Going to bring Hal Anthony a presentation. It's a six part. It's 12 hours on the Lieber Code, and so I'm going to occupy my spot with that right there. After the first of the year, I'll be back with episode 13, and perhaps that will be the ender there as I move towards the next series of this journey and this voyage of exploration, and it'll be titled "Rounding the Edge." And so there'll be the Nanner banner in there. There's a lot of angles and triangles and squares and all this and that. And a lot of people have this idea that it was perhaps a little bit too Masonic, but nobody owns math. It's a fingerprint of God. So listen, guys, thanks. And Grim, I'm going to bring Jimmy in, and let's have a conversation on 9/11. Now, he's of the mind that 9/11 conspiracy theories are an inside job. But to be fair, let me grab Jimmy. Let's call. So, no. Oh, I just messed up. I hope I don't put me on hold. Sorry. Doggone. Tell me if
I'm still here. I don't know.
Okay, where am I at? Right here I am. Here we are. I need to add to call. Let's see, add. There you are, Jimmy. So you'll be hearing the ring. Add to call. Hey, look at him. He's all chill, man. Kicked back in a chair over in Sweden. Sure. Hey, what's up, Jimmy?
I'm just home from the city, so not so much.
Right on. Can you cut your game back just a little bit on your mic?
How do I do that?
Oh, well, if you can't, you probably won't have time to
move it over your mouth a bit.
Yeah,
increase the volume.
Yeah, decrease the volume. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll try.
Okay, how's that, Grimnir? Sounding good? Let me get this out of my way so I can see my meters going.
Better?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to talk about 9/11. Hey, why don't you go post in your group over there, Facebook, Jimmy, and invite the folks listening to come on along. You can go to my Facebook page here, or I can post to yours. The link for this. Once you invite your folks to come on over and into chat, and let's talk about 9/11.
Okay.
Let me see here. You want to come to my page? You can find it here. Or wait, I should have tagged you on this one. Let me click this here. I'm going to share this to your timeline, and then you can grab it. You can take it over.
Sure.
It's moving, but it's a little slow. Let it catch up here. Okay, right. So let's open up. Grimnir, can I hand you the mic? And let me get you to open the dialogue here.
Well, what is it we're going to be talking about now?
We're talking about 9/11. Yeah, let's start specifically. Now, Frumpy, thanks. The fires, in a sense, are almost not even important to the fact of collapse. But let's talk about how not only Building 7, which is most obvious, but 1 and 2, and how let's start out on fire. Could fire cause collapse?
Not in the manner that it did.
All right, so open up with that, and then we're going to get Jimmy to respond.
All right, well, you can start with the fact that never before 9/11 or since 9/11 has any building, that type of structure, ever done a free fall collapse into its own footprint from a little bit of fire way up on top of the building.
Right, but you know that the Madrid building actually had the top part collapse, but not the part that was reinforced. That was reinforced by concrete. That was the only thing standing. All the parts that were only steel, they had collapsed after this long, 24 hours long fire they had there.
24 hours long fire on
I think so.
A different construction of a building.
Yeah.
Not with the central steel beams support structure like the Twin Towers and or Building 7 had.
Yeah, right. But what I'm saying is that the parts that were steel in that skyscraper had collapsed from the fire. And if you, for example, if you look at my country, for example, I went to an overpass here last year, and they told me that they were doing fire tests for the concrete or they were doing reinforcing of the concrete in case there were some car that were caught on fire under the overpass, because they knew that fires could weaken the structure.
That's beyond debate. Fire will cause, because you look at how steel is made. There's temper in it, and that's caused by heat. So and even a fire with office furnishings would, after time, cause a softening, which would cause a weakening of steel. However, I think the events there on 9/11 that were extraordinary. You would not see a sudden onset of collapse as that. It went to itself. If that was to have weakened to collapse, even if they slapped down, and people in your group over there are not realizing how the building was constructed. They think it's all a matter of just these hangars right there, these concrete floors. But there are, I forget now, I posted that over there. What is it, a dozen or 5 different types of, 5 different types of floor sections. This is, would it have collapsed from fire? It would have, however far till it ran out of energy, pushed some floors down, but it would not have collapsed the core columns and the outer columns. There are several different columns. There are I-beams, okay? They're not just floor joists. There are I-beams. There's different types. I did post all of that, and I'm not going to go fetch it up right now because we're going to go in conversation. And this is the second 420 report from the Buzz Beaver. Look at what weed can do for you. Ask not what you can do for weed, but ask what weed can do for you.
Well,
that was a quick 420, so go ahead. I'm going to fire this one back up.
Okay, well, I mean, if we think about this rationally, if we just use logic in this, I'm not like a super expert on exactly how much it will take to crush a building, what will make the whole top part collapse and destroy all the parts in the low section. But if we think about this logically, suppose that they had rigged both the towers for demolition, right? And building 7. Suppose they had done that. Why would they wait so that all the people below the impact zones could get out? Almost all of them could get out. Why would they wait for that? And why would they do so that then the building that were struck the second time that were struck the latest, why was that structure collapsing first?
Okay, I'm not sure I quite caught all that. But let's back up just a minute. And thank you, Sock Puppet. This is a very good point because it was made in your group over there on Facebook about comparing collapse of other steel structures. And generally, a lot of what I saw was single structure. So roof collapse, of course, is not the same as a building collapse. This was reduced to dust and rubble. And there's all types of information that could be shared there about the all the microstructure of this dust and so forth. But let's stay focused. Let's talk about the collapse of the buildings. Let's not wander off. Let's talk specifically because we can give example. And in your group, there was example given, but not to my satisfaction.
All right. Well, let's go this on it. I'm sorry. What's your name? Jimmy?
Jimmy. Yes. Yes.
Now you do realize that these buildings, all 3 of them, collapsed at basically free fall speed, right?
Well, 8 stories free fall for building 7.
All right, it's close enough to being free fall speed that if you dropped a bowling ball at the same, it would have. There was not a lot of difference between the time the top of that building hit the ground and what would that bowling ball have hit.
Right. There was not a lot of difference.
Right. So basically free fall speed.
basically
Now,
free fall.
If let's just go with if the beams were weakened by fire up on the levels where the planes had hit, those structures may have started to collapse. I'm just going on that theory, although I don't actually buy that. But okay, now when it started to pancake down, right? Would there not have been some resistance from the unweakened beams below that?
There were
Resistance down? No, it did. Like I said, it went at free fall speed. There's no resistance there. It just went straight on down.
Well, there's an easy way to debunk that, because we can see stuff falling faster than the actual collapse besides the collapse. So it didn't fall at exactly free fall. It fell very fast.
We're splitting hairs, Jimmy. We're splitting hairs. We're not going to debate that the speed was exactly free fall. It was close enough to free fall that I'm going to have to say, for this discussion, we're going to have to concede that it fell at near free fall speed.
Well, I mean, it
very little resistance. You can split the hairs here if you want to. I'll give you a quick minute if you want to tell us how it was not free fall speed.
Yeah, well, I told you right away why it wasn't free fall, because we can see stuff fall beside the collapse. So it wasn't exactly free fall. It was super fast. I'm not denying that. But wait. I want to finish. I want to finish, please.
Go ahead.
So you have to think about this. The way the core columns and the perimeter columns were structured meant that you had to have like stuff falling exactly on those columns, and most of the stuff actually fell like in the parts between. You saw that one of the towers peeled like a banana, as you saw. Mm-hmm. One of the towers didn't.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, you had some shedding of the outer structure. You know, and that's kind of like a screen on a window. That right there. There is so much redundancy built into this building. It would have had a greater chance of collapsing had the top initiated collapse and then tipped over as it was going, and then kind of leaned and maybe pulled part of the building down. There's not enough force, especially on the one that was so high up, the impact and fire, that there was enough force to pile drive an entire building to the ground. It's ridiculous that anybody would even think so. That, in my opinion, that I don't know how anybody could think that could have happened. So, as far as the narrative from the mainstream.
Are you a construction builder? Construction expert?
Yeah, I would say, I have quite a lot of construction expertise. As a matter of fact, I've worked in steel industry, not only in structural steel, but also in the pipeline industry, manufacturing pipe. So I was certified non-destructive testing for steel. I've worked in construction from, when I quit school and went to work. Built a lot of stuff. I've worked in a lot of industry. Yes, I think I might qualify myself as having expertise in a lot of aspects of the discussion. Certainly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, but can we maybe try to answer my questions that I tried to pose to you that you didn't quite catch?
Yeah, I probably didn't catch them. Go ahead, ask me one.
Okay.
Hey,
cool.
I want to warn you. If we're running off topic, if it's the red herring, I'm going to pull you right back on the trail. Okay.
Yeah, but this is not off topic. Okay. This is very much on topic.
Go ahead.
This is a fundamental question that you should answer to me, because this is part of this discussion. So we suppose now that they had rigged these buildings for demolition, okay? And then we ask ourselves, why didn't the first tower struck? That is the North Tower. Why didn't that fall first, since it was hit first? That is the first question.
Okay, stop right there. All right.
But I have a second question.
One question. All right.
Okay.
First question, why? Well, it all depends on when If it, and I'll beg the question, demolition, then when does the button hit? So, but we're going off topic. We're going back. We're going to stay focused here.
You didn't
We don't
answer.
have enough time. I did answer it. It depends on when the button was pushed. If you want to talk about demolition, okay. When was the demolition initiated? Where you go to Vegas, and when does that building fall down? When they're demolishing a hotel with implosion, when does it fall down? When the switch is flicked. Okay.
Yeah, what's the logic?
So let's stop, Jimmy. we're not going to chase bunny trails. So let's go back to the collapse of the building. So we're going to go back to where we can see that it was near or about free fall. Can you agree with that or disagree? There or
Yeah,
about.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So okay, Grimnir, come in and interject here. Let's keep focused, okay, Jimmy?
Well, I think you should have answered my
Fire.
question. Really.
I did answer that question, and we're talking about fire causing collapse. Okay,
Yeah.
this is the point, because I don't have to prove anything to you. I don't have to prove to you how the building came down. My discussion is, can fire cause that building to come down? You need to prove to me. Don't try to get me to. I mean, your whole group over there, those few people are trying to, drag these stinking old fish across there. Let's stay focused here. How did fire bring that building down, Jimmy?
Vincent, we have to make something very, very clear here.
Okay.
Fire engineers have actually come out here 15 years later, and they have said that there are some questions that we can't answer now, 15 years later. And one of those questions is definitive proof that the fire brought these buildings down. You can't prove like every aspect of this.
You want to
So
know
I
why?
mean, you can't ask that of me. It's too much.
Yes, because that is your assertion that
No.
fire caused the collapse of this building. Now you can backpedal here a little bit, and I'll give you a little wiggle room. But the whole investigation, has been hogtied from the beginning. There's not even a proper investigation. The reports from NIST are very exclusive of anything except for what they specifically set out to prove. All right, so we can convolute all we want to here, but the fact is, it smells like a stinking old fish. I want you to pause, Jimmy. I want to let Grimnir interject here. He's been very patient, I think, and I think he might have some things to say.
I don't really have anything to say. I mean, he believes that somehow the fire allowed this and caused this to happen. And there's no possible way, unless, of course, on that particular day in history, for the first time ever, laws of physics were not allowed to be used. Somehow, physics that day just did not fit into the equation. Therefore, this magical bringing down of the buildings by these fires on the upper floors allowed this building to just free fall and pancake down into its own footprint. Not just this building, 2 other buildings did the exact same thing, which, okay, maybe you could buy them doing it. Of course, you'd have to be pretty out there to believe that it happened to one building. But no, it happened to 3 buildings. One of the buildings only had a few little office fires, the building 7, 47-story building. I don't know where he said 8-story building from, but
he was talking about 8 floors at free fall that was or resistant that was contained in the report. So that's where that came from.
Okay, that's where that came from. I was like, 8 stories. Anyway, so there's just no way. It didn't happen how the government said.
Okay, can I ask you something?
Yes.
Leslie Robertson, you know who he is?
No, I don't.
Okay, so he was one of the architects of the Twin Towers. Leslie Robertson.
Okay.
And he had a radio interview with Stephen Jones. And he said he was not surprised by how fast these buildings fell. He was not surprised by that. And he's one of the best experts. So, I mean, if he is not surprised by this. Why would I be? I mean, I'm a layperson, and he's an expert. Why would I be surprised by it?
Okay, before you answer that, Jose wants to come back in here. So hold on, Jose, and we'll give you a chance to interject here. I was busy doing anything, so I didn't get a good listen to that question. So, Grimnir, is it a non-question, or is it one that has an answer?
No, I mean, okay. Granted, the guy was the architect of the building, designer of the building. Not surprised by they came down. Then again, there were a lot of people spewing a lot of disinformation from the governmental point of view about what happened that day. Now, like I said, I'm not familiar with that guy, that particular guy, but to think that maybe he could have been paid or threatened to say what the proper words were seems far more likely to me than him not being surprised how those buildings came down, if he was indeed the designer of them.
Yeah, he was part of the construction team.
Okay. Egalitarian, at what temperature does steel expand several inches? Well, in order for the scenario presented, for that to have happened, it would also had to shear off the bolts that pin those I-beams across to the columns. And like I said, there's a lot of redundancy in there. Even through expansion, the expansion would have caused either an upward swell or a downward sag. So that really is not even negotiable in the cause of collapse expansion. And there's been tests to that. Even with collapse of a roof and other steel structures, it's that collapse, and it doesn't have enough force to pile drive the rest of that, because you got to realize that what's on top of this building, even if it did collapse, it don't matter. There's not enough force to take and wham, just like slamming it down through a snowball through air and pound it down to the ground into a big huge hole with molten metal in it. The fire, there's not enough heat in that. You can go look up the numbers you want it for yourself if you want, but there's quite a big difference between the Fahrenheit temperature of kerosene or jet fuel and office furniture, and the color of the smoke is indicative of the temperature. When you have black smoke, you have a starved fire, a lack of oxygen. So, and on Building 7, the fires were. Many of them were out, and you can see where this supposed collapse of that single column over there precipitated the collapse of the entire building uniformly across, straight down. It's ludicrous. It's idiocy for anybody to make claim, especially Building 7 just fell down because of fires. Without the what's the word, extraneous a force of an airplane hitting it. So before you go, Jose wants to come in. 1 second question for Meisterbro. What role did Department of Navy Intel, very good question, to have in any of this, and were they in the building months ahead of time? The Navy, I forget, intelligence in Building 7, I believe there were several members assassinated, but we are running off topic here. Let's get back to the fire. Jose, come in. Give me your interjection.
Okay, thanks. I've been listening a couple of weeks now. I do want to express something that probably people of this world have neglected, and I want to thank the conspirators that did bring down these buildings for bringing them down in a controlled demolition as opposed to allowing them to fall all over New York City.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, they were very considerate, considering the fact that, they were going to lead us on to a lifelong debate as to whether these things were brought down or actually came down. That and my other point was going to be the question that, Vince, you just brought up. How does that argument hold, that the fire weakened the top few floors and then crashed through at near free fall speed all the way down to the other 100 floors, the argument is lame, and we already have documented video of, was it the mayor who said, yeah, they told me, that the building was on fire.
Silverstein.
So we decided to pull it. Quote.
Pull it. Okay, that's a technical term in the industry for implosion.
Right, pulling with cables.
A third point that I just kind of came up with while I was talking, the gentleman keeps asking us if we're experts in this field, and that's besides the point. There's too many unanswered questions on both sides. The biggest unanswered question comes from the tradition of U.S. history, of the history of the United States of America. Whenever there is a plane crash, the tradition is to reassemble the plane to decide what exactly happened, even when we think we already know what happened.
That's right.
And
crime scene.
And that did not happen this time. Everything was cleaned up and done away with. Okay? There was literally no investigation. It was wham bam, thank you, ma'am, which only adds to the suspicion. Now, you have your opinion, and I respect your opinion. Unfortunately, your information or the facts that you use to support your opinion are less worthy of respect. You tend to have more questions than answers, and the answers that you do have are unsupported. And of course, Grim pointed out, hey, the ones that you have supported are questionable because there's a lot of money involved here. People were threatened. People have disappeared.
Yeah. There is a lot to discuss on all of this, but let's try to contain to the collapse and beyond, even beyond. Put Building 7 aside because that's most obvious. Let's stay over here. I'll give you a quick second to respond. Meister Brow, the question here, laws of physics and so forth. And was there Hollywood created illusion of a plane? I would say that those buildings were hit. That there's a lot of debate and discussion beyond whether the people were inside, where they landed over in that other airport. But we don't have enough time to chase everything. We're talking about the collapse.
Yeah, that's another topic worthy of a couple of hours.
Sure. So let's stay. So Jimmy, let me give you a minute. Come back in.
Okay. Well, I mean, if it would be so obvious that any layperson could just look at these collapses and determine right away that, okay, just by looking at these collapses, it will appear perfectly clear that they were demolitions. Then they wouldn't have done it this way. They wouldn't have done it in this way.
You would think.
Yeah, but they would. You can understand it yourself. Just think about it.
No. Just because I say you can think does not mean I agree with that. You've got to realize the best magic tricks are pulled off right in front of your face. The most obvious is most often that which is not perceived. So that's not really an argument. It's not.
So you believe they would actually want to be caught out?
No. Well, I mean, there is always that too, knowing that they would be called out. That they would, be ready to have a denial for that. Certainly.
Let me ask a question there, Jimmy. Yeah. If someone were to show you that before 9/11, say on 9/10, somebody went in and they took pictures of the explosives on the columns going up and down the building, or you saw the workers in there in the overnight periods for weeks before that placing those explosives, and then you saw somebody on that day actually pressing the button to detonate the building, to bring it down, to bring all three of them down. Right. But then the government comes out and says, this is how it happened, and they give you the same official story that you have now. Would you believe those pictures and video of that happening, or would you believe what the government told you?
Yeah, unless there was something fishy about the pictures. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I go with the evidence, but the reason...
How far it went on your little cognitive dissonance thing going on there?
No, but I said that I would agree with it, unless there was something fishy about the pictures.
That's I got to say that's the easiest way to trick somebody, though, is to show them a picture. Picture's only a snapshot in a moment of time, so even a photograph is not evidence in itself.
Okay,
it's a matter of perception.
Well, here's a better question, and Grim kind of motivated me to think of this. Jimmy, what if somebody came up and said, "Hey, I was part of the group that actually set up the demolition to bring down the towers and make it look like planes crashed into it"? Would you then believe? You would believe that guy?
If there would be like some kind of circumstantial evidence or something that would prove that he could have done this, then sure. But I mean, Jose, would you believe if 3 people in Al Qaeda that were in Al Qaeda's leadership came out and said that we did this? Would you do that?
Well, we're getting off topic because we're not.
Yeah, but let me answer that. I would say sure, because there are so many faces. You know, we're not gonna go to the Zionists and the Arabs and all those where everybody in the U.S. and how everybody's tied together. We'll leave that alone. But just because there is a name or somebody that is standing and representing a group does not mean that is actual factual. Circumstantial is just that. So,
but he posed a question to me. Why can't I pose a similar question that is more stronger?
Exactly, and I countered both of y'all's at the same time. That's like a twofer. Bam! I poked you both.
Or threefer, because you actually hit Grim with that one too.
Okay.
We have 3 people coming out saying we did this, and they are from Al Qaeda.
How do you know?
Al Qaeda is CIA anyway, so there's no big surprise there.
There is a big surprise.
I know they're from Al Qaeda. Because
hold on, Jimmy.
If you look at the pictures of Bin Laden there in the Al Qaeda video, and you look at older pictures of him, it's not the same guy.
Yeah, are you talking about the video of that's supposed to be Bin Laden that everybody can kind of tell is not?
Yeah, and that's not a new trick. If you go to Iran and the Ayatollah Khomeini, when he went into exile into France with 9 fingers, he came back with 10. So yeah.
Well, we have a witness expert on BBC showing that he was actually Bin Laden. You can see the 2 faces. I have the 2 faces on my page. You have 2 faces. One face is from '97. That is a proven video. Yeah.
Okay,
one video.
I'm convinced.
Hey.
Wait. Just let me finish up. Then you can interject. So one face is from '97, from a video that is confirmed of Bin Laden. The other video is from the confession video that the Pentagon released in December 2001, where Bin Laden talked about how he expected like the top parts of the building to collapse, and that Mohammed Atta was from Egypt and stuff like that.
Okay.
And
well,
you see the 2 pictures besides each other. They were even on top of each other. You have the 2 pictures on top of each other, and they are a perfect match. Perfect match.
Yeah. Okay. Let me answer that question. So, 2-faced again, multi-faced. It's not just 2 faces, but
on 2 videos.
Faces. There are many faces. So, it obviously were there a plan, which I would suppose to have been in effect for a very long time about bringing these buildings down, and there's several reasons why that they would want the buildings to be collapsed. When I say they, that again, the multi-faces. But so this discussion, would have been circulated among the many different factions and agencies and within agencies and so forth in the splinters and the created groups. So all this would be conversation. So in order to set the narrative, people have to be talking about it, right? So yeah, would enemies of America contemplate such an act as this? I'd say yeah. So were or were it not Bin Laden discussing that, it's really non-negotiable as to the original authorship of the plan for destruction of America.
Yeah, but he talked about it afterwards, and he said that, by the grace of Allah or something, and the buildings came down. I only had expected the top parts to collapse because I have experience in construction, he said. He said to a man from Saudi Arabia that were there. And it was ordered for the man from Saudi Arabia, and he didn't deny that it was Bin Laden that was there. Okay, all right. It doesn't matter whether it was or not. Let's say it was. And especially saying it was, Bin Laden, he's a construction expert, I would say. So if that gives him expert testimony to the fact that had this actually occurred as to planes hitting and fires causing collapse, Bin Laden witnesses, again, expert testimony that wouldn't happen. So there you go. Where do you go? I mean, you have many experts saying that it could happen.
Well, you said that Bin Laden was surprised that the whole building came down. He only expected the top floors to come down.
Yeah, but you can't know. You can't know with 100% certainty. How do you know? Because laws of physics.
And he's an expert.
No matter what. Yeah, but what about the laws of physics? Here. What about the laws of physics?
Stuff does not just go from a certain height straight to the ground, crashing through. And not only matter, but matter that is constructed in a manner that prevents that very such event of collapse
caused by fire.
Okay.
It don't matter what the cause was. Was it fire? Whether it was the combination of fire and a plane? Whether it was a nuclear bomb? I'm sorry, I'm interrupted here. What was the purpose of this tragedy? Whether it was a bomb that blew out the entirety of a section of floors and left suspended for momentarily the upper section of the building, and then it fall down on the remainder of the building, it would not pile drive into the ground.
Vincent, have you seen the sagging of the floors prior to collapse?
Yeah. I already conceded that there will heat will cause sagging.
Yeah, and you saw that also?
Yeah. Hey, I gotta hold on for a minute. Let me hand you guys the mic. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, but actually, you can see one floor at least sag from like the 81st floor or something like that to the 80th floor, I think, in one of the buildings. And you can also see a bulge right before one of the towers came down. You can see a clear bowing, actually. Clear bowing, not a bulge, but a bowing of the columns, perimeter columns.
And you can also see, as the building is going down, explosions all along the way. You can see little bursts of...
could be air also.
What you expect? No, it's definitely not just air coming out. It's explosions coming out.
How can I confirm that? If I'm a layperson, how can I confirm that it's explosives?
Well, I didn't say you could say it was explosives.
Testimony of several firefighters that
explosions, not necessarily explosives. However,
and we had the documented testimony of several firefighters that heard the explosions. Now, if we're not, I remember the week, because I was in college, we were asked to volunteer to go and sift through the rubble for body parts.
Oh, wow.
A collapse of a building does not cause a human body to dismember itself. Only explosions would have caused dismemberment of human beings. And that's basically what happened. Unless you can come up with some documented time in history that a collapse of a building caused people to lose their arms and their legs and their torsos and their heads and so on and so on.
Well, I mean, there were two explosions that we saw, at least, of course. So we know that. But apart from that, I would say that, like I tried to say, that I know that there were people, firefighters and first responders and other people that said that it sounded like explosions. I mean, I can admit that part because that's true. And people said that. But if you look at the videos now, if you look at videos of the collapses and the time around, when all the chaos was going on there, you can't hear explosions yourself. You can't hear anything that sounds like explosions in the videos.
You can't hear them, but you can see them.
Yeah, you can see them, and you can't hear them because of the distance. But there are some videos that have been adjusted for the distance and the time lapse of the sound traveling, where you can connect the sound of an explosion or a pop to the spark coming out of the window. I believe Grim will agree with me if you've seen those videos.
No, absolutely. Yeah. There's no question about it. But
you get into altering videos, then you can say, well, you can alter videos to do anything. But to stick to the point is, when other than 9/11 has there ever been an example of a building collapsing because of fire?
Well, he was pointing out one in where was it, Brazil?
No, Madrid. The top part of one of the buildings there, maybe the Windsor building. I'm not sure. Yeah.
But if you can consider all of the buildings around the world since throughout history that have had fire, and much worse fire than these particular and
sure,
none of them ever had a similar experience.
Right.
How would that be explainable?
Well, when I looked at the examples that the truthers have given me of other skyscrapers that for sure had worse fires and they lasted a much longer time, the fires, then I have looked at the construction. The construction has always been different, always different. And in some cases, the sprinkler system was totally intact. In other cases, there were no damage at all to the structure. And stuff like that. And they weren't made of steel. They weren't only made of steel. Almost none were only made of steel. So that's what I'm going by. But also, some of them were not as tall as these towers. The height meant that there was more force pressing down on the columns, right?
Cool. Depending on where you're talking about, I mean, on the upper floors of which above the explosion also collapsed on down, there was obviously less stress up there, right? Because those
right. Right, but I mean, an acre of a floor, and you take that maybe up to 15 acres of floors, and that is a huge press on the columns. If there's some kind of destruction of some of the columns that is holding this structure up, it can mean a huge pressure on those columns that remain still intact.
Let me ask you this. Have you seen the photos there at ground zero of the columns down below, the remaining columns that are left over, that are cut at very straight angles, obviously done through I'll just say thermite, although some kind of high explosive material that had cut through those columns down at the base that were left standing?
Yes, I have. Okay. Yes, I have. And what you can actually see often, if you like get more of those pictures, is that often when truthers are posting those pictures, they post a zoomed-in version of one of those pictures, where a guy stands in front of one of those columns. But if you zoom out and take the whole picture, you will see a man behind him stand higher up, and he's holding a torch. So this is like done in the aftermath of this these events, when they were trying to clean up this mess.
So you think that those were cut by a cleanup crew rather than done as part of the demolition of the building?
Right.
Now, do you have any evidence supporting that suspicion?
Yeah, you can see this yourself. You can see the person standing in the back. Just Google the cut columns.
But a guy standing there with a cutting torch in a pile of metal debris is no proof that column was cut with that torch.
No, true. That's true. But I mean, it seems very likely.
Is it more likely than the fact that those beams were not very likely to come down at near free fall speed?
Well, I mean, I think the buildings fell insanely fast, for sure. I mean, I'm not going to deny that it was crazy fast, totally crazy fast. But for me to jump from that and say that, oh, it couldn't happen this way, that's I can't make that jump. I mean, I can't say exactly how fast they should have fallen. The experts say that it wouldn't have mattered if like how fast and they were falling. That's no
Okay,
point.
Jimmy.
I mean, if they started to fall, then they would have fallen to the floor. This was Les Robertson was saying, for example.
Okay, Jimmy. Let me
Sorry.
just to help me kind of understand your point of view. How old were you on September 11th, 2001?
26, I think.
You were 26. Okay, so you were an adult, right? Did
Yep.
you see? Did you watch this going down on the television and the news stations and stuff?
Yeah, it was live here in the afternoon.
So you caught it live, supposedly, right? Because we don't really know what we're seeing is actually live or pre-recorded, but we're gonna trust.
I think you can trust.
Yeah. Okay, so because I saw it too, and I remember I was in my 40s when it happened. What did you think, Jimmy, when you saw on television the buildings going down? What was your first thought?
It was just shock after shock, and I thought like anything could happen after that. I thought there was no limit to what could happen. It felt like everything was just going crazy.
I mean, specifically, did you think, wow, those buildings came down because they were on fire? Or did you think that was a controlled demolition?
Let me interrupt you guys. We've come to the end. When I saw it, the second building live on television in 2001 in Las Vegas, Nevada, I thought planes crashed into the buildings and made them fall to the ground. I was
me too.
Abhorred. I was abhorred. And I'm going to tell you, if you like to hang a handle on me as a conspiracy theorist, then I've seen conspiracy throughout history. So conspiracy is a fact. And I did not put it together. And I living in Las Vegas, I've seen implosion after implosion. And I was like, I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe that something like that could happen. But I was told what happened. I was told how it happened. Right away, there were witnesses saying, yeah, because of the fire and and it come crashing into the ground. Sure. But anyway, so listen, guys, we've come up to the end. Let me give everybody a minute or so. Make your point, wrap it up real quick, and we'll come back again. Oh, hey, yeah, I will. I see you there. Go ahead. Jimmy, then Jose and Grimnir, take us out at the end and remind us what's happening today on Freaker Friday.
Okay.
Let me go first because I'm going to take a cheap shot, and then mute and let you guys talk. What Vincent just said only supported one of my arguments from the last hour about white people being the most brainwashed. Thank you and good night.
Okay. Well, I don't think that's true, but okay. First of all, one of the things that he didn't mention was that the Fresh Kills landfill had a lot of the stuff from the buildings and the planes and the people. So that's one point. And another point, to answer his question, I didn't think it was anything other than some kind of collapse. I didn't think, it was must have been the fire or whatever. I just concluded that they were they just couldn't handle the pressure for some reason, and I was totally shocked. And that was that. And I didn't want to hear any conspiracy theory. I was furious about all the people talking about the conspiracies after this. So I think it's bullshit. And I want to also just add that since you are in Vegas, you have been in Vegas and you have seen all these demolitions, then you know that there's one thing that differentiates demolitions from these buildings coming down, and that is the loud sound that the demolition makes. You know that. You can't escape it, and you know it.
No, that's a fallacy, my friend. There is different types of explosions, explosives, and types of explosives, and the sounds that they make. So that's. But
you have not experienced
it. Pardon?
You have not experienced that ever. A silent demolition, never.
It was not silent by any means. A long ways from silent.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's indication of explosive devices. That's I think pretty obvious. So, but anyways, we'll be chasing off down more trails. But so we're going to come to the end there. Jimmy, thanks for coming along. Jose, Grimnir, take us out. Grimnir, give us some few final thoughts here, and again, tell us. What's in store for the weekend here at reallibertymedia.com, rlmradio.xyz?
Well, I don't know why you wanted a crazy tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist anarchist like myself on your discussion today, but I'm glad you did, and I thank you for that. It's obvious. I mean, it should be obvious to anybody that whatever the government has to say about almost anything. Not limiting to 9/11. I'm not limiting to JFK. I'm not limiting to anything. It's all lies. That's all they do is lie. Do you trust the government? Do you believe the government about anything? Why?
Yes.
They tell you they lie about everything. And then they go ahead and do it, and then you believe them. Say, we're going to lie about everything. They put out official documents saying, yeah, we're allowed to use propaganda to tell our story our way. And you're going to go ahead and believe it. So you're going to sit there and trust them and believe them after they tell you that they're going to lie to you. Great. That's awesome. Anyway, later on today here on Real Liberty Media, RLM Radio, you can check out Grammy's Rocket Chair at 7 Eastern, 2-hour program. Great show that she does every Wednesday and Friday at the same time. And then following her, well, I'm not sure if A-Trax is going to be on tonight, but he hasn't been around. A-Trax generally does some really weird music that he plays. I don't know why, but people like it. I'm sure of that. I see them coming here in the chat and tell me they like it. So anyway, they at 11 Eastern, keep going back to my time, 11 Eastern is the Freakers Ball with myself and the Mighty Moose Girl, which is a great program, 3-hour program. I think it's a great program. I'm a little biased on that, but so look forward to all those. Tomorrow at noon Eastern will be the Dork Table with Grammy and Flash, and then Kira Young at 4 Eastern with The Bridge. And there's other shows. Check the schedule on reallibertymedia.com and you'll see. And that's it. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you guys. And Mr. Rumbold, here's a message for you, Jimmy. The torch that you talk about is an air quality monitor, not a cutting lance. Thank you, Julieta. Wait a second. With reference to the picture you guys and Jimmy are talking about, hold on, Seymour. Oh, and it's frozen. There we go. Oh, this is rather long. Let me read this, and I'll give you a chance to respond. Wow, it is quite long. So, to be fair, let me read this. And to be fair, excuse me, I got something stuck in my throat there. We'll give you a moment to respond. So we are running over, but that's okay. With reference to the picture you guys and we were talking about, if you are an experienced torch cutter, light or heavy metal, doesn't matter. The principles are much the same. There are several facts that indicate it was not a torch cut. Number one, no cut from a torch accumulates that much hagging. I think that should be lagging. Slag. Most slag is blown away. This volume would indicate melting with abundant directed heat, but with little or no air pressure, eliminating blowtorch possibilities. 2, slag cools too quickly to drip that long. That is correct. It's again solidified when it hits the ground. If you're cutting with the torch, to drip that long with the beam itself vertical, that much slag would separate and fall to the ground and would never drip that far. This is just more here. No experienced torch cutter would take a diagonal cut on a 4-inch thick steel beam. True that. Straight through. And why would even an inexperienced one do so? There would be no possible reason to do this where a horizontal cut is possible, even if. See, and I'll just interject, even cutting a tree down, it's the same type of principle.
So, can I say something?
Jimmy, why don't you go and go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, this guy, Aid Rumble, who was telling you this, he was the one that destroyed my group some days ago.
Okay. I don't know that that's true or not.
He was part of it, and he said that he did it. So I don't like him at all. I hate him.
All right. Well, that's your right. But anyways, hey, thanks for coming along, and we'll talk to you more later. And appreciate everybody for participating in chat, listening, and speaking. And I'll close out, and I'll see you guys next week. I'll be bringing Hal Anthony's examination of the Lieber Code and presentation, and we'll be back with feedback first of next year. So thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.